Hey everybody, I'm Eric from GameShampoo.com, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about the gameplay basics in Mass Effect 3. That includes whether to go Paragon or Renegade, or whether it really even matters in the end, scanning planets, navigating around the Normandy, and picking the right squad for a mission when you leave the Normandy. So first of all is the Paragon versus Renegade thing. In past games, especially Mass Effect 2, this was something that you really wanted to decide on before you were going to really even start the game, since there were certain instances where you'd have to have a certain amount of Paragon or Renegade points to proceed. That's really not so much of an issue in Mass Effect 3. There are definitely portions where you're going to want to persuade people, especially in the very last section of the game. It's really helpful to do that, but I personally never ran into a situation in which I couldn't use either the Paragon or the Renegade Persuade option, even though my Paragon Renegade rating was about an 80-20 split towards Paragon. So it's really just how you want to play and how you want to present yourself this time around. So I mean, Paragon is the goody two-shoes kind of guy, and then Renegade, you're still a good guy, but it's more of like a badass kind of like Jack Bauer sort of thing, like doing what it takes to get the job done kind of guy. There are certain situations where it's going to benefit you to choose one or the other, specifically when the interrupt prompts appear on the screen. You can hit LT, left trigger to do the Paragon interrupt, or right trigger to do the Renegade interrupt, and those are going to get you a bunch of points, a bunch of reputation points and stuff like that, and they're going to just get stuff done. Like specifically on the Citadel mission at the beginning of Act 2, little spoiler here if you haven't played that mission yet, but when it prompts you with right trigger to shoot Udina, you're going to want to do that. I mean, those interrupts generally benefit you no matter what, like which side you really want to side with. So you should typically just take them when they pop up. But in the ending, I mean, it really doesn't matter. I mean, the ending of the game is you choose, do you want to do the Paragon thing? Do you want to do the Renegade thing? Doesn't even take into account what you did before that. So, I mean, like I said, it's really just about how you want to present yourself. So speaking of presenting yourself, you're going to want to talk to everybody on the Normandy as often as you can. So the layout is going to be kind of almost the same as it was before, but not quite. You've got your quarters on the first floor. The second floor will be your kind of war room area where you can activate the galaxy map and talk to Specialist Traynor and read your emails at your private console. And both of these things you're going to want to do as often as you possibly can. I mean, even if you don't want to pursue a relationship with Traynor, just talk to her to get intel, talk to her to get N7 missions, stuff like that. And generally just befriend her. It'll be really helpful later on in the game. And check your email a lot, because you're going to miss out on some pretty critical things if you don't, including like relationship building things, and even certain life or death kind of things, like Thane or Miranda can die, for example, if you don't read your email enough. So definitely read that a lot. Then on the third floor down, you've got the crew's quarters, and this is where you'll find Liara in the room where Miranda used to stay in Mass Effect 2. And you'll find Dr. Chakwas or Michelle in the med bay. Every once in a while you'll find Edie here, but she'll also sometimes be up on the war room level, on level 2. Garrus will be here sometimes as well. Tally, I think, once will be here, and Caden will be here as well in the crew quarters. And yeah, a lot of the locations of characters kind of fluctuate a little bit, but I mean, it's safe to assume if you can't find them somewhere else, they're in the crew quarters. The fourth floor down is engineering. That's where you'll find Tally when she's not in the crew's quarters, and you'll also be able to find Diana Allers, the reporter, here if you let her on the ship. So you can talk to her to get a relationship going. And then on the fifth floor, you find Cortez and James, and you can build up a relationship with both of those guys if you want to. Scanning the planets. So this is really easy. It's simplified from what it was in Mass Effect 3. Scanning planets is simpler than it was in Mass Effect 2. You don't have to go into the planet view and scan the whole thing like you used to. Now you just hit the left trigger to scan while you're still in the galaxy map view, and it'll send out a little ping around your ship, and it'll tell you if there's anything of interest nearby, and then it'll appear on your screen as a red blip, and you kind of head over to that and just hit the A button or the X button, and you'll examine it. And at that point, you can scan the surface of the planet, but it'll point you in the direction, and you just hold left trigger and hit right trigger to fire out a probe and collect all of the resources or whatever it is that's on the planet's surface. Now, when you do have to leave the Normandy to go on a mission, you're going to want to bring the right combination of squad mates with you. And there are two big factors that influence who you're going to want to bring when. The first is who you're fighting against. So for a lot of the game, you're going to be fighting against Cerberus, and these guys are primarily armored enemies. They don't really have any shields or anything like that. So you're going to want to bring, attacks that can damage armor. Things like warp, or the grenades are great against armored enemies. And so, for example, maybe a good squad would be James and Liara, because James has grenade and he has incendiary ammo, both of which are great against armor, and Liara has singularity and warp, which are, again, good against armored enemies. If you're fighting against the Geth, on the other hand, you're going to want to bring a lot of tech specialists, because the Geth are essentially robots. So if you have Tally, definitely bring her. She has overload, which is great against the Geth. Yeah. And then if you're fighting against the Reapers, it's really kind of a wild card there. Because the Brutes are heavily armored, and the Banshees are heavily armored, but the Banshees have shields. The Marauders also have shields. And I guess in general, there's just a lot of shield generators present in a lot of the later missions where you fight the Reapers, so you're going to want really like biotics heavy guys and really like tech heavy guys to dampen those shields. And the second factor would be which class you are yourself, because you're going to want to bring allies that complement your own feature set. So if you're playing Vanguard, let's say, and you already have incendiary ammo, it might not make sense to bring James along too, because he also has incendiary ammo, and then there's some overlap between the two abilities. And really, you're going to want to get as much variety out of your moveset as you can, so you can be prepared for any situation. So look at your class, look at what they're really geared towards. If you're a soldier, bring along an engineer and bring along an adept, because you can't use biotics and you're not really great at tech. So you're gonna need guys to cover that. Whereas if you're playing as a sentinel, you've got the tech and the biotics covered. So maybe bring along like James and Garrus, because they're much more geared towards using their guns. So that way you'll have a much more balanced party. Well, that's the basics of the gameplay in Mass Effect 3. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos.